Good afternoon, gents. Hopefully you can hear me. We're going to start with the 5 a day. So the questions, hopefully you can see them all right. I'm just going to let them roll through for a few minutes just while more people join, and then we'll get going with the lesson. Okay, let's stop that right there and we'll get into the actual lesson now. Let's turn my camera on. Hello, hopefully you can all see me and you can hear me. Let's just test that we can do the raising your hand thing in Teams. So if you can hear me, just raise your hand. Excellent, thank you, Dylan. Okay, so let's get on with the lesson then. So I am going to do, I'm going to share my screen so that we can all see this. So there we go. You should now be able to see my screen. So you can see me writing on there. So that's good. So let's go through these 5 a day questions to start with. So let's have a look at this one. So a car decreases in value 10% a year. If it was bought for £5,000, how much will it be worth after 2 years? That should be a fairly simple calculation, but we have to be careful that we're looking at compound interest and not simple interest here. So in the first year, we buy it for £5,000, and it decreases in value by 10%. Okay, so 10% of that amount is equal to 500. So it is worth, after 1 year, it is now worth, let's put it in here, 4,500. That's the cost, that's the value of the car after 1 year. For the second year, it starts off being worth 4,500, and we're going to reduce 10% of the new amount. So we're not taking off £500 a year. We have to work out the new 10%. So this time 10% is equal to 450. And so when we take that off, we're going to be left with £4,050. Okay, the next one, solve x squared is equal to 51 plus 14x. So for this question, what we should be doing, let's just expand this, hopefully you can still see that all right. There we go. So for this question, what we need to do is start by rearranging the equation, getting everything over to one side, so we can have x squared is equal to not equal to, x squared minus 14x minus 51 is equal to 0. And now you can use whichever method you prefer to try and solve this quadratic equation. I'm just going to do it by factorizing, because I know, because I'm a big fan of darts, that triple 17 is equal to 51. So that means that 17 multiplied by 3 is equal to 51. And so the brackets we're going to have, they have to add together to give negative 14, multiply together to give negative 51. So that's going to be x subtract 17 and x plus 3 is equal to 0. So that means that x is equal to 17 and x is equal to negative 3. Okay, on to another one. Let's have a look at this this question here. So it's work out the value of the missing side there. I'm going to label it x. Now this one, I spoke to a few boys this morning about this question. Their first thoughts was that it's a triangle, so we must be doing some sort of trigonometry, but they went in with SOHCAHTOA. So they were trying to do the sine, cosine, and tangent, and that won't work because we've not got a right angle triangle. SOHCAHTOA will only work for right angle triangles, and in this case, this angle here isn't a right angle. We could have one of the other two angles could be a right angle, but we're not sure, so we're not going to use SOHCAHTOA in this case. What we are going to use is we're going to use the cosine rule. Now the cosine rule looks fairly similar to the Pythagoras. So we have c squared equals a squared plus b squared, and then we're going to subtract 2ab cosine c. Let's just make sure that we can see that screen all right. Okay, so it should be c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. So it's very similar to Pythagoras, but we've got that little extra subtract 2ab cosine c. And now we can put the values in. So c squared is the thing that we don't know. Let's draw that a bit neater. So c squared, that is going to be equal to 4 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 4 times 5 cosine 80. And here we can just put all of that into our calculator. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to get my calculator out. So we've got c squared is equal to 16 plus 25 minus 2 times 4 times 5 is going to be 40 cos 80. So if we put that into our calculator, 16 plus 25 minus 40, I'm going to need to go on the scientific calculator, minus 40 cosine 80 is equal to 34.1. So c squared is equal to 34.1, and we need to do the square root of all of that to give us our answer. So the square root of 34.1 is roughly 5.8. So 5.8 is the length of x there. Okay, so the cosine rule was what we were looking at. Next, let's go on to this cricket one. So Gary is playing cricket. When attempting to catch the ball, he has a probability of success of 3/4. He's 3/4 of the time he is successful in catching the ball. During the game, he attempts 2 catches. What is the probability he is successful with both catches? Well, that we just need to do the probability that he is successful both times. So that's 3/4 multiplied by 3/4. So that's going to give us 9/16. Quite a simple one there. The probability that he is successful on both just multiplied together. And then the last question here, simplify x squared plus 5x plus 4, all divided by x squared plus 4x plus 3. What we need to do here is we just need to factorize each of the equations, so that the expressions, we need to factorize the numerator, factorize the denominator. So looking for two numbers that multiply to give 4 and add together to give 5. Well, that's just going to be 4 and 1. So we'll have x plus 1, x plus 4. And same sort of thing for the bottom. We've got multiply to give 3, add to give 4. So that's 3 and 1. So we're going to have x plus 1, x plus 3. And now when we try and simplify this, we can see that both the numerator and the denominator have that factor of x plus 1. So we can cancel the x plus 1s. So that means the simplification is just going to be x plus 4 divided by x plus 3. So that is all of the 5-a-day questions. Hopefully you did okay with those. Let's move on now. Let's get past all of those and have a look at what we're doing today. So more problem solving. That's what we've been doing for the last few lessons now. Is we've been doing some problem solving. I'm going to be continuing with that theme. And last week we were talking a lot about the strategy, making sure that we have a good strategy for answering questions. Actually, before we move on, I just want to see if this works. At the very start, I put up a I put up something on the board that said go to www.polev.com. So I'm just going to put that up again. I'm going to write it here. So it was www.polev.com/SJC Mason 111. If you go to that now, so polev.com/SJC Mason 111, you can do it on your phone or you can do it on a laptop or whatever you have in front of you. And that will take you to hopefully a page where you can input your name, and then there'll be a question on there that says describe maths in one word. And I want to do something that's a little bit different. I want to do a sort of interactive part of this lesson. So try and find that now. If there are issues with that, then let me know in the messages on Teams, and I'll try and fix things. But you should get to a screen. I'll check on my phone as well, just to make sure that it is working. So let's see. But hopefully, as people can start to input their answers, I will start to see them on the screen. I can show you them as they come up. So SJC Mason 111 is the URL. So it's loading on my phone. Other people may have a problem with it loading as well. So just let me know. If that doesn't work, then we can move on and try it later. But I was trying to hope that we can get some conversation going and see a little bit of interactivity. Has anyone been able to get on? Doesn't look like it. Oh, fun. There we go. Someone said fun. Excellent. Let's let me share the screen actually. I can show you it. There we go. So massive fun at the moment. So yeah, once you are able to get onto there, you can submit your answer and you will see, hopefully it will come up live. It might take a little bit of a second because the connection doesn't seem to be great, but people's responses, decent, nice, okay. So people's responses will start to come up on the page, and if you put in the same response as someone else has already done, so if someone now puts in fun again, that word is going to increase in size, and we can start to see which is going to be the most popular answer. So I will leave that for a second there, and it's going to stay there for the lesson. There we go, decent. Someone else said decent again, and that's just appeared slightly larger. I'm going to leave that for the lesson. It's going to stay there, and we can come back to it at the end. You can respond as many times as you like. You can say the same thing over and over again if you want, or you can say different things. I don't mind at all. And it will all start to come through. So we can see there people starting to put the same responses again. Massive, decent, noise. Yeah, very good. So I'm gonna leave that on, and we will come back to it at the end of the lesson. For now, I'm going to go back to the slides, which are over here. And we're going to do some problem solving. And also some of these answers I'm going to, it says the poll is full and is no longer accepting responses. So lots of people have already answered, so that's excellent. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the problem solving. So here is a question to start with, Mean Street. And what we're looking for is we've got three numbers. Two of the numbers have a mean of 12. And two of the numbers have a mean of 30. Can we work out what the three numbers are? So I've changed the poll everywhere question. It is now, what are the three numbers? So you can go and have a look at that question, try and work it out. I'll give you a fair amount of time. I'll give you 5 minutes or so, maybe even a little bit longer, to have a go at this. You probably need pen and paper to write it down. And I want you to try and work out what the three numbers are. When you think you've got an idea of what the three numbers are, go back to that poll everywhere. So the poll ev thing with the SJC Mason 111. I'll write it on there one more time. So pollev.com/SJC Mason 111. And if you think you know the answer, you can put it on there and you will see everyone's responses as they come up, and you can give them a thumbs up if you agree with it or a thumbs down if you disagree. Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes and then we will go through the answers. Okay. Okay, it looks like there are some answers coming in. I'm going to show them now on the poll everywhere. Here we go. So there we go. The answers that people are suggesting. Let's make this a little bit bigger. No, that's smaller. So 9, 15, 45 seems to be the one at the top. Other people have suggested 24 and 3, 63 and 6, 9, 15, M5. I don't know what that means, but I think you were on the track of 9, 15 and 45. And it seems like that is the most popular answer, to have 9, 15 and 45. So that's good. Let's have a look now. Let me go back to the sheet here. Here we go. So 9, 14 and 45 is the correct answer. And you can take a few possible strategies to this, but the strategy that I'm going to think about and we're going to use today is thinking about what it actually means for three numbers to have a particular mean. Okay, so if three numbers have a mean, so we'll go for this from that first one. If three numbers have a mean of 23, that means altogether the sum is equal to 3 lots of 23. That's 69, isn't it? Okay, the reason for that is because the way that we work out the mean is that we add the numbers together, we add those three numbers together, and then we would divide by 3. So if we work backwards, we multiply by 3, that must be what all three numbers added together equal. So the mean of 23 means that we've got a sum of 69, and I'm going to do that with the other numbers here. So if we've got a mean of 12, that means that the sum is equal to 24 because we've just got two numbers, and this one here must be the sum is equal to 60. Okay, from here it shouldn't be too difficult with what we need to do going forwards, because what we can do is if three of the numbers, this is the case here where we've got three numbers, okay, three of the numbers, the sum is 69. That's all of the numbers. But just two of those numbers have a sum of 60, let's say. So this here, this is just two of the numbers. Well, that means that if two of the numbers is 60, we need one more number to get up to 69. So we look at the difference between 69 and 60, which of course is 9. Whoops. 9. So 9 must be one of the numbers. So I'm going to put that at the top over here. 9 must be one of the numbers. It has to be, because it's the only number that we could have. If two of them add up to 60, there must be one more that takes it all the way up to 69. We can do exactly the same process again, but thinking now if this was the other two numbers that sum up to 24, we can take the same process and we can do 69 subtract 24, and that equals 45. So that means 45 must also be one of the numbers. Okay, it has to be, because that's using the same logic as before. 49 has to be one of the numbers. Two of the numbers add to 24, you need one more to make it up to 69, which is 45. That leaves us with two of the numbers are 9 and 45, and we need one more number to make it up to 69, sorry. So we've got 9 plus 45 plus something is equal to 69. There is only one thing that can possibly go in there. It must be 15. So 9, 45 and 15 have to be the three numbers. And it seems like most people were on that track. There's a couple of people who did things slightly wrong, although I can see where the number 60 came from one of the answers. I don't know who submitted that, but the answer 60, well, that's from this here, isn't it? It's from the sum being 60. So that's good that we can get to 60, but it looks like we made a couple of errors along the way, but that's okay. So 9, 15 and 45. Let's have a look at the next question. So we've got find an equation that has, find a quadratic equation, sorry, that has solutions x equals 0 and x equals 5, and give your answer without brackets. Now, I'm not going to do this on the Poll Everywhere site this time. We're just going to do this on our own pen and paper because it's a little bit more difficult to submit an answer in this way. But I want you to try and find out what the answer would be to the first one, and then have a look. Oh, some people are still trying to respond to things. Have a look what the answer would be for the second one. So find a quadratic equation that has two solutions of x equals 7. I'm going to give you a few minutes on this one. I'll give you 5 minutes, and then I'll go through the answers. Okay, so let's have a look through this this problem. So find a quadratic equation that has solutions x equals 0 and x equals 5. Here we have to think about what it's actually asking us to do. So we think backwards a little bit from the solutions. If we've got the case where the solutions are x equals 0 and x equals 5, we need to put them back into a quadratic equation that has some brackets in there. And the way that we remember that is that whenever we put it into the brackets, it's the negative of the solutions. So that means we're going to have x minus 0 and x minus 5. And actually x minus 0, well, that's just x, isn't it? If we take away 0 from anything, we just have x. So that's x and x minus 5. And then it says we do have to find the answer without brackets. So all that we need to do there is multiply this. So x multiplied by x is equal to x squared. X multiplied by negative 5 is negative 5x. And so that is our final answer for the first one. Okay, so it's quite straightforward. We're just looking for those solutions and putting them back into the brackets by taking the negative of the numbers. We're going to do the same thing with the second question here. So part B, we've got two solutions that are x equals 7. What that means is x equals 7 is a repeated solution. So if you imagine we've got this as a graph, something like this, then it means that this part here, where x is equal to 7, it's going to be one of those repeated solutions. So it touches the graph but doesn't cross through it. Okay, so it's going to be the same solution twice. So that means when we put it in, we're going to have x minus 7 and another x minus 7 like this. We've still got those two solutions, but they just happen to be the same number. And now when we expand this out, we have to do our regular expansion. So we do x multiplied by x, which is x squared, x multiplied by negative 7, negative 7x, negative 7 multiplied by x, so another negative 7x, and negative 7 multiplied by negative 7, which is positive 49. And then tidying that up a little bit, that is going to give us x squared minus 14x when we collect together those like terms, plus 49. So x squared minus 14x plus 49 is the solution to that question. Good. Okay, so let's move on to another problem-solving question here. Chocolate mousse. This one we are going to answer on the poll. So this time, multiple choice. I've put up some options there. The options that we are looking for is we've got a recipe for chocolate mousse. And we're told the recipe is 100 grams of chocolate, 10 grams of butter, and 2 eggs. And that is enough to make chocolate mousse for 2 people. And we actually have 8 eggs, 45 grams of butter, and 350 grams of chocolate. What is the maximum number of people we can make chocolate mousse for? People are already responding on the poll, so that's really great. I'll give you a couple of minutes. This shouldn't take too long. It should be a fairly quick one. And then I'll put the poll up so you can see the responses. In fact, I'm going to do that now because I think people have got the numbers now. There we go. So we can start to see that people are answering. So if some people have said 3 and 5, a few more people have said 7. So I'll let people have a little bit of a think. Another person said 7 there by the looks of it. Let's go back to the question just so that you can see it properly. Just in case anyone needed the numbers again. So there you go. So 100 grams of chocolate, 10 grams of butter, and 2 eggs is enough for 2 people. And we have 8 eggs, 45 grams of butter, and 350 grams of chocolate. So what is the maximum number of people we can make chocolate mousse for? So some people are starting to remove their answers if they thought they were wrong. Let's put the responses on the screen again. There we go. So I'm pleased to see that no one put I don't know. So that's good. You're all at least having a go at the question. That's an important thing. Even if you're not 100% sure, it's always worth giving it a go, trying to write. Okay, now someone's put I don't know. Thank you very much. It's always worth putting it down, even if you're not 100% sure. It's worth giving it a go and at least trying to work it out, because chances are in an actual GCSE paper, if you can at least give it a go and start to do some working out, you might get some marks for your method. So it looks like at the moment, there are two options: 3, 7, or 8, 7 or 8. With most people saying 7. And I can tell you that 7 is the correct answer there. Let's go back over to this. So 7 is the correct answer. Let's think about this logically. We've got to take some steps in order to make sure we don't miss anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down that I'm going to do it sort of as a ratio, but it's not really a ratio. It's kind of like that. So if we say that we have the number of people is 2, and for that we need some chocolate, we need some butter, and we need some eggs. They are the things that we need. For 2 people, it takes 100 grams of chocolate, 10 grams of butter, and 2 eggs. Okay? Now what we can do is we can start to scale things up, keeping those proportions the same, but scaling up. So if we doubled everything, so we had 4 people, that would take 200 grams of chocolate, it would take 20 grams of butter, and it would take 4 eggs. Okay, so far we could make it for 4 people. We've still got plenty of the ingredients left over. So let's keep on going. Now let's add some more. Let's scale it up. So here we scaled everything up by a factor of 2. Let's scale everything up by a factor of 3. So if we had 6 people, that would take 300 grams of chocolate, 30 grams of the butter, and 6 eggs. That's a pretty good start. We're almost there, but we've still got a little bit of leeway. Imagine we added on a half of each of these things. So if we added on another 1, another 50, another 5 grams, and 1 more egg, well, that would give us 7 people in total. That would be 350 grams of chocolate. It would be 35 grams of butter, and it would be 7 eggs in total. Now we still got another egg to have that we could use, which is why I think a couple of people thought that 8 might be the option. You've just looked at the eggs. We've got 2 eggs for 2 people, 8 eggs must be for 8 people. But we've got to this point here, 350 grams of chocolate is the amount of chocolate we have to use. There is no more chocolate to use up. That is our upper limit. Okay, so 7 people is the correct answer there. You could have maybe done it in a slightly different way. This is just the method I'm doing it. It's not really a ratio, although I've sort of made it look like a ratio. I'm not thinking about it in terms of ratios, really. It's just thinking of scaling things up by the same amounts. Let's do another question. And did I put this on the poll? Let's have a look. No, I didn't. Okay, so we'll do this question. So the cost of hiring a boat, £4.50 for the first hour, then £2.50 for every hour after that. I'm going to give you not much time. I think only possibly 2 minutes, I think, will be enough for this. So I'll give you 2 minutes, and then we will go through the answer. You don't need to put the answer on the poll. We're not going to do the answer on the poll. So I've seen a couple of people putting, I don't know. Have a go at it just on paper with a pen. Okay, so a couple of minutes. Okay, let's go through this because I don't think it should take too long to work this one out. But let's think about that strategy, because this is quite a simple question, but I still think that having a good strategy is the key for any sort of maths question. Okay, although you may be able to spot straight away what to do, I think taking a second and thinking about the strategy is a good thing and a good practice to get into, a good habit to have. So what we need to do is, let's think about it in terms of the hours. So for 1 hour, there we go, for 1 hour, it is going to cost us £4.50. Okay, that's just for the first hour. For 2 hours, it's going to be that £4.50 plus another £2.50. Okay, so altogether that would be it would be £7. £4.50 plus £2.50, so that's £7. If we have 3 hours, so one more, that's going to be that previous 7. We've already paid 7. We just need to add on another £2.50, don't we? So that's going to be £9.50. For 4 hours, that's going to be our £9.50 that we're already at, and we just add on another £2.50, and that gets us to £12. And that is actually that's our limit. That's how much money they've got to spend. So 4 hours must be the amount. So the strategy there is just thinking one step at a time. Now, I know it's quite obvious with this question. It doesn't take much thinking, but laying it out in a logical way will really help you. Okay, so laying it out 1 hour at a time, making it really clear what each of the calculations are that you're doing, particularly for when questions get harder, it's going to be really important that you have that clear strategy. Okay, we'll do a couple more questions. So let's do this one here. Again, this is another one that it will not take you very long at all. I'm not even going to mute my microphone, and we're not even going to take time to do it because I think it will be quite quick. But I can still talk about the strategy because I still think there is strategy involved. Whether you know it or not, you'll be doing a particular strategy in your head. Okay, so I'll just give you a couple of seconds to think about that. And hopefully at this point, we should be pretty sure what it is. It looks like someone's typing in each of the numbers one at a time to put in the answer. I've just seen that as it's coming up on the poll everywhere. I'm not going to show the screen. So this should be pretty obvious. I think there's two possible answers. No, there's not two possible answers. There is one definite answer, but people often narrow it down to two potential answers. We're looking at a 4-digit number that is closest to 5,000. Now, that means that either it's going to be 5,000 and something, and it's going to be just above 5,000, or it's going to be 4,000 and something, and it will be just below 5,000. Okay? So one of the numbers is going to start with a 5, one of them is going to start with a 4. If it was the number that was 5,000 and something, we can get rid of that 5 because we've already used that. To make it as small as possible, we're going to have to use the 4 next. To keep on making it as small as possible, it would be the 6 and then the 7. Okay? So let's hold that number there, because I know a lot of people will have just done this in your head. I think most people here, particularly I know you're all higher students, doing it in your head is not too difficult. But I'm just laboring the point a little bit. If it's a 4,000 number, we're going to want that number to be as big as possible. Okay, so that it is as close to 5,000 as possible. So the biggest number is going to be 7. Okay, and then 6, and then 5. Okay, that would be the biggest possible number we could have. We then just need to compare those two numbers because they are the only, well, the best possible choices for the 5,000s or the 4,000s. And we can see that the 4,765 is going to be a closer number to 5,000 than 5,467. This one is 467 away, whereas the 4,765, that is less than 300 away. It's 245 away, 235 away. So that must be the better option. Okay, and I think most people will recognize that straight away. You won't have to do much thinking about it, but actually you will have thought about it. There's no way that you can just pick those numbers out of thin air. You will have used a strategy, whether you know it or not. It might just be something that you instinctively know how to do it in your head just by looking at the numbers. You still employed this strategy. This will be what you did. You would have done this in your head, but I'm just highlighting that that's what you would have done. Okay, let's go on to another one. In fact, this will be the last question, and then we can wrap up for the day. So we've got let's zoom this in a little bit. There we go, like that. So a set of 5 numbers has a mode of 12, a median of 11, and a mean of 10. What could the numbers be? Poll everywhere is open, so go over to pollev.com/sjcmason111 and you can input your answers. Okay, and then it's the voting up and down. So input what you want for your 5 possible answers, and then we'll see what other people have got. Now I'm going to tell you now, there is not just one correct answer to this. There's quite a lot. So I'm hoping that some people will have different answers to others, but you can still vote up the ones that you think are correct. Okay, but hopefully there'll be quite a few possible answers there. So I'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll have a look at the answers that have been submitted. Okay, so let's have a look at those. Some people have put in some silly answers, which is a little bit of a shame, but that's okay because some other people have put the correct answers in there. So let me share the screen now. So here we go. So yeah, a couple of silly answers in here. People being obviously getting very tired because it's a long day, but thankfully there are some people who've put in the correct answers as well. So 7, 8, 11, 12, 12, that is a valid solution. 5, 10, 11, 12, 12 is a good solution. Someone put 4-0. I think that might be some sort of reference to a particular match that was on last night, but I'm not sure about that. I think 3-1 might have been a more apt number to put there, but anyway. So let's have a look at what we're actually doing for this question. And I'm going to go and share the other screen. There we go. So what we're looking for is 5 numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with putting 5 dashes like this. Okay, so 5 possible numbers. We know that the median number has to be 11. So 11 has to be the number that's in the middle. We're going to put these 5 numbers in numerical order. So 11 has to be the middle number. The mode is 12. That means that the most common number, the number that appears the most times, is 12. Well, 12 is bigger than 11, so it has to go over this side, and we have to have more than one of it because it's the most common number. So 12 is going to have to be those 2 numbers. We now just need 2 more numbers, and we're going to use this part about the mean. We said before, the mean, if we think about it, just means that the sum of all of those numbers has to be 5 times 10. So the sum of all the numbers has to be 50. So sum is equal to 50. And so that means that we've already got 11, 12, and 12. So 11 plus 12 plus 12 is 35. 11 plus 12 plus 12 is equal to 35. That means we need 15 to be the sum of the last 2 numbers. These 2 numbers here have to be equal to 15. Okay, and so there's actually an infinite number of choices we could pick for 2 numbers that add together to give 15, as long as they are both different and they are both less than 11. Okay, so as long as they're both different, so it doesn't alter the mode, and as long as they're both less than 11, so that the median is still 11. So we could have 10 and 5, we could have 7 and 8. There is a wealth of answers there. We could have, you could even have decimals if you really wanted to. Let's just go with the number that's at the top of the poll, which is 7 and 8. That works fine. But like I said, there's lots of possible answers there. Okay, so that is the end of the lesson now. We're going to start wrapping up because we've got 5 minutes until it is 2 o'clock. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload these videos to YouTube. And if you just search for St. Joseph College Maths, annoyingly, it has to be St. Joseph, not St. Joseph's. Because St. Joseph's was already taken, but St. Joseph College Maths. And if you search for that, you will find the videos there. So I've already been uploading a few from the past, and there will be more to come. There's also other lessons that other teachers have been delivering, so they will be featuring on the YouTube channel as well. And hopefully going forwards, we're going to have more videos coming out, more shorter form videos rather than these long hour-long lessons. Where you can learn little bits throughout the year, like the Hegarty videos do. So hopefully that's something that we're going to be doing more in the future. Hopefully you've enjoyed this lesson. I've tried to make it a little bit more interactive today, and clearly football seems to be the thing that's taking over with the poll, but that's fine. We already know who's won the season, so that's okay. Anyway, thank you very much for joining. Hope you all enjoyed it. We will do more lessons like this, obviously. I'm going to try and do more interactive things in the future. I might even try a Kahoot in the future, do an online Kahoot, which might be a lot of fun. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. I'll stick around for a little bit, but the lesson is ended now. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to stick around and send me a message. But you are now welcome to go. Dylan has just posted 4-0, so thank you for that, Dylan. Yes, we all know the score. Thank you all for joining, and I will see you all very soon.